Hello. My name is Nina. Welcome to my channel. Every Christmas time, I get a gift card from my work. This year, I thought it would be really fun to spend that gift card on my favorite thing, books. I haven't bought new books in a while because I just haven't really felt inspired by the books I've been seeing, and also because I just haven't had the time to go book shopping. So today I thought it would be fun to do like a book shopping spree. I will take my gift card to two different stores and I will just get anything that calls my name. If you follow my channel, you know that I am very keen on reading all the books on my physical TBR, and I am not someone who buys a lot of books just for the sake of buying new books. I have read almost all of the books on my shelves and I plan on keeping it that way. So I'm only gonna buy books that I feel like I want to read in the near-ish future. But I think there's something so fun about just going to the bookstore and allowing yourself to get anything that calls your name and that kind of sparks an interest. There's two bookstores I want to go to. First is the regular bookstore that I always go to. It's like a really big bookstore. I really like it, but it's also like a big company. It's not a chain, but it is the most popular bookstore in my town. They have a big online store, so I know that a lot of people shop there during the season. And recently, a new, very small bookstore opened in my town. It's called Emma's Bookshop, and it actually is owned by a fellow YouTuber. She makes videos in Dutch, but I have been following the process of her opening this bookstore online. She makes videos about it, and it's now open. So I thought it would be really fun to go to her store, also to support small businesses, but also just to see it in real life and see the collection of books she has. So I'm going to go there first and then go to the regular bookstore afterwards if I still feel like it. Maybe I will buy so many books at Emma's Bookshop that I will not need to go to the other store, but we will see. We're gonna make it a fun day. I'm gonna get a coffee. We will maybe go sit somewhere and read. And of course, I'm not only taking you along to the book shopping, but I will also do a book haul at the end of it. So let's go.
Beneath the starlit sky, our love's secret line, like leaves we soar so high. Beneath the moonlight, the soft touch your hand in mine gets me every time.
I just went to my first book stop. I ended up buying two books, which I'm really excited about. They were both books I'd never heard of before, so I'm really excited to show you. I'm now going to the other bookstore because I forgot to use my gift card. I was too busy talking to everyone, so I didn't end up using my gift card. But I will go to the other bookstore and I will not forget to use my gift card.
I know July is gone. You make me feel at home in the neon glow.
I've been getting a little overwhelmed with these big bookstores because I feel like there's so much to see and so many books, and if I don't know any titles beforehand, I feel like I'm just glancing the shelves and not really noticing anything. I've been forcing myself to slow down a little bit and just stand in front of the shelf and look at everything and pick up as many books as I can, and I've been finding some books that I'd never heard of before. That's been really great.
Beneath an endless night, the world spins around. You're there, ease my mind.
Alright, I have found 3 books so far and also a gift for my boyfriend. I feel like I should get out of here semi-soon because if I stay, I'm gonna just find even more books to buy. But I'm having a lot of fun, so that's great.
As the leaves change color.
I found another book that I wanted to buy right after I said to you that I should stop looking. So I decided to go to the coffee shop that is in this bookstore. And then my friend called me and she was like, hey, do you want to have a coffee? And I was like, well, perfect timing. So she's coming over right now. But while I wait for her, I'm going to start in one of the books because I bought The Christmas Tree Farm. It's currently in the period right before Christmas and I've been really craving just like a shitty Christmas romance. So I'm gonna read this and then have a coffee with my friend. At a later point, I will show you all of the books that I got.
In the glory of the winter sun, baby, this is the season of love.
Alright, hello. It is a couple of days later. I thought it was about time to do the book haul. I ended up buying 8 books, which is so many books. I did not expect to buy that many books. At first, I had bought 6 books, which is already a lot of books. But then after I had the coffee with my friend, she was like, do you wanna walk around the bookstore for a bit because she had just arrived. And I was like, yes, but I have already bought 6 books today. And then I saw 2 more books that I wanted to buy. And I was like, well, since I'm already spending money and using my gift card, I might as well. So I have 8 books to talk about and I'm really excited to show you. As you saw, my first stop was Emma's Bookshop and I bought 2 books there. The first book I got is Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. I had never heard of this book, and that is a theme that you're gonna see throughout most of these books because I tried to mostly pick up books that I had just found in the bookstore instead of books that I had already had my eye on, even though I did buy a few that I had my eye on, but most of them I had never heard of, and this was the first one. This is a murder mystery / thriller, I think, and it is about 3 foster sisters who had this like perfect life. At least everyone thinks they had a perfect life. They find a body in the house that they grew up in, and then it starts this thing of like, are they the victims? Are they the murderers? It doesn't say whose body is found, so I think that's also interesting because is that someone they know? Is it like an old body from like years ago? I don't know. I thought this just sounded really interesting. I really love these type of murder mysteries where there's a specific event going on, but it's also just about the past and about this feeling of uneasiness where, at least from the back, it seems like these girls are rethinking their childhood and rethinking what they were taught. Like, was everything as perfect as it seemed? And is there like trauma that they don't know about? I think those stories are very interesting. So I'm really excited to read this book and find out more about this story. The second book I picked up at Emma's Bookshop, I actually would never have picked up if it wasn't for the woman behind the cash register, because she started talking to me. And when I looked at this book, she was like, have you ever heard of this? Because this is so cool. And she told me that this is a book that also has puzzles. The title is The Murder Mystery Club Puzzle Book, Murder in the Village. And this is a book, but it's also like you have to like make puzzles to figure out what's going on. So you have like text, but you also have these different types of things you have to fill in. Also like this and like this. This book is about a puzzle club that likes to solve puzzles together, and then in this story there is a body found, and this puzzle club is trying to figure out what happened through puzzles, and you as the reader have to solve the puzzles. And I thought this concept was so cool. I think this would be the perfect gift for someone who likes to read but doesn't have like the attention span to just sit down and read a book. And I also think this would be really fun to do with someone. I thought I might use this for a date night with my boyfriend where we just like solve the puzzles together and read the book together. I really like this concept. Then I went to the big bookstore here, which is called Donner. And the first book I picked up, I have actually already read because I filmed the first bit of this video right before Christmas, but I was just really craving a shitty romance, like a Christmassy, quick rom-com read. So of course I picked up Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. This is the author who also wrote The Pumpkin Spice Cafe and The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, both of which I have read for a video on this channel. These books are definitely not the best rom-com books I have ever read, but they're enjoyable. They set the vibes very well, and I really like the way the characters are described. All of these books are like a classic 3-star for me. Like, they're not groundbreaking or like really special, but they're enjoyable. I read this in like 3 days and I had a great time. My main criticism for the second book in this series was that it was way too spicy, and this one luckily wasn't as spicy. There is definitely spice, but in the second book the spice was like an integral part of the story, and here it was just like part of the fact that they were starting a relationship and there were only 1 or 2 spice scenes. So I definitely liked this one better than the last book. It was enjoyable to read during Christmas time and I'm glad that I bought it. The next book I got is The Rain Before It Falls by Jonathan Coe, And this title just gripped me in a way that I don't often get with book titles. I don't know why, but it gave me this nostalgic feeling. I just read this and I was like, I need to read this book. And that is an interesting experience. When I read the back, it wasn't completely clear to me what this book is actually about, but I read the first few pages standing in the bookstore, and just the way it was written, I just wanted to keep reading, so I figured I would buy it. On the back it says that it is a story of 3 generations of one family riven by tragedy. I don't really know what to make of that. I don't know what to expect from this story-wise, but I thought the writing in the first few pages was so beautiful that I just wanted to continue reading. So I think that says enough. Now, one specific genre of books that I almost always really love is tragic stories about gay men who are in a position where they cannot express that they are in love with each other. There's so many examples of books that I've read in that category that is like different genres. It can be a murder mystery, it can be a fantasy, it doesn't really matter, but just any books that have that category of story, I will fall in love with. And when I was in the bookstore, I was reading the back of a book about war. I don't really remember what book that was. I think it was about the Second World War. And I was reading the back and I just thought to myself, I probably would really love this book if it had a tragic gay love story. And then the next book I picked up was In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. And this actually is a war book with a tragic gay love story. So then I was like, this is not a coincidence. I have to buy this book. This is actually about the First World War. And I think it's about a group of friends who all enlist to be in the army to fight the war. And these 2 men who fall in love or were already in love when they were still in school, but now they're in this war zone and they have to survive, and they're also like dealing with their feelings. I think that is just like the general gist of this story. And this just feels like one of those stories where I will get overly attached to the characters and I will just like completely fall in love with them. I'm expecting like the same vibes from A Little Life or My Policeman, which are both books that I absolutely adored. So I'm really curious. I hope that I'm not overhyping this book in my mind, because I personally had the connection to like A Little Life and My Policeman. That's not something I read either on the back or in any reviews, so I might be projecting a little bit, but we'll see. At least that's what I hope, because those are 2 books that I love. So if this book has the same vibes, then I'm gonna love this as well. Then a book that has been on my list for a while is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I don't think I have to explain this. I have read every single one of Sally Rooney's books and I have loved every single one of them. I've heard mixed reviews about this book, but I've heard mixed reviews about every single one of her books so far. I think Sally Rooney is just one of those specific authors that you either love or hate. And so far I have loved every single one of her books, so I don't think this will be any different. I think this book follows 2 brothers. One of them is a chess player. I think the thing with Sally Rooney's books is that it's hard to explain what it's about if you haven't read it. So right now I'm like, I don't really know what this story holds, but I had that with every single one of her books, and then at the end I still loved it. She can make any sort of story interesting. Probably the way it is written and the poetic sentences and everything is what will get me hooked. So I'm really excited to read this. I hope I will love this as much as I think I will. Then we have a completely different book. This is The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. You may or may not have heard me talk about the Inheritance Games before. I read that series at the beginning of 2024 and I loved it. The original series is 3 books long, and ever since the series was finished, Jennifer Lynn Barnes has just been writing books that are kind of in the same realm, relatable to that original series, but not necessarily connected to it. There were some books from side characters, I think, and most of them weren't really interesting to me, but this book is actually about the main character from the original series, except it's like a few years later. So if you don't know, The Inheritance Games is about this very rich man who left his whole estate to the girl you're following, Avery, and she doesn't know this man and she doesn't know why she got this money. She has to play these inheritance games to win this money. And this book is about Avery, the now billionaire, years later, who made her own games for people to compete in. So there's 7 new characters playing these games, and I think the thing about the original Inheritance Games that was so fun to me was the gaming aspect. Like, they had to do all of these fun puzzles, and they had to find things, they had to make connections. You know, that was very fun to read about. And I hope that this book has that same element because it's the game once again, but it's not so close to the original idea that I think it will just feel like repeating the same book. So this is actually one of the like spin-off books that actually interested me. And I think these kinds of books are just really fun and easy to read. It's like a good palate cleanser in between more heavy books. I didn't realize that I bought two books that are kind of like murder mystery games related. One where I have to do it myself and one where I can actually read about it. But apparently that's a genre I like. And then the final book I got is You Exist Too Much. This title once again gripped me, but also the review on the back from the stylist just like had me invested right away. I was like, I need to read that book. Because the first sentence says, You Exist Too Much takes you on a dizzying tour of love addiction, rehab, homophobia, betrayal, obsession, and the aching need for a mother's unconditional love. And I was like, yes, sign me up. From what I know so far, this is the story about a queer girl who gets into a relationship with a woman and then has to deal with her environment not really accepting that. There is culture and religion at play. I also read the first few pages of this book in the store, and it just, from page one, sounded so interesting, and it was written in such a way where I was like, I need to buy this book. It's a queer coming of age story, which is a genre of books that I really love, and I also think it's really interesting to read about queerness in combination with specific cultures. And I also really love that this book starts with the main character already being in a relationship with a girl. Like, it's not, I don't think it's a coming out story in the sense that we're used to, where someone like figures out they're queer and then has to tell people and stuff. Like, she's already in a queer relationship. She just has to deal with everything that comes with, and I think that will be really interesting to read about. All right, these are all the books that I got this shopping trip. I am so excited to read all of these books. I think I'm gonna have a really hard time trying to decide which one to read first. I had such a good time going to the bookstore and just like taking the time to look at everything instead of just looking for books that I recognized. As someone who spends a lot of time on like the book side of YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, I often have a lot of recommendations in mind, but it is so fun to just find books that you've never heard of before. And I think you can say that I very much succeeded in finding books that I am excited to read. Thank you for coming along on this shopping trip and also listening to me yap about books. Let me know if you have read any of these books and if you have any recommendations for me of books that you think I might enjoy. If you like this video, you can subscribe down below, and I will hopefully see you again next week. Bye!